Welcome to my take on In the Heights. If you've been watching my videos, you know that I am Latina through and through. Specifically, I'm half Cuban on my mother's side and half Puerto Rican on my father's side. But what you might not know is that I was born and raised in the Washington Heights section of Manhattan in New York City. I lived there for the first 14 years of my life, my formative years. So as you can imagine, I was super excited to see Lin-Manuel Miranda's movie In the Heights that just came out. I watched it over the weekend, and although I was fully expecting to really like it, I was a bit surprised at the profound emotions that it stirred within me. I cried, I cheered, I reminisced, and I spent the last few days sorting out all of those emotions. Finally, I felt compelled to share a video on what the movie meant to me. In the Heights was filmed almost exclusively in my old barrio of Washington Heights. In fact, the school which I attended from 2nd grade to 8th grade and the church that my family and I belong to, Incarnation Church and School, appears in the background in many of the scenes. There's also an entire scene that's filmed at J. Hood Wright Park, which was literally right down the street from the building where I lived. 635 West 174th Street between Broadway and Fort Washington Avenue. It was a beautiful park with a huge playground, basketball courts, lots of grassy areas interspersed with these wonderful natural rock formations, and an overlook with sweeping views of the George Washington Bridge. I spent many a happy day there as a child. Sadly, I don't have too many photos of those days, but my memories are so vivid that I really don't need them. There were 4 central themes from In the Heights that really resonated with me. In this short video, I'm going to explore those 4 themes and what they meant to this Cuban and Puerto Rican Washington Heights native. And I want to add there are no spoilers, so make sure you listen until the end. Hola chicas poderosas, I'm Mari Rosa, self-love trainer, and this is my YouTube channel, Chica Power, where I show you how to fall in love with yourself first. Today we have a little bit of a departure. We're talking about a movie, but it all ties in. The first central theme that I want to explore is sense of community. From the very beginning of the film, you can get a sense of the close-knit Washington Heights community. This is something that I fondly remember from my childhood, so that I can attest to this. On my block alone, there was Fulvio, who owned the bodega. We went there almost daily. There was Beto, who owned the furniture store on the corner. Gigi, who owned the pizzeria right next to the furniture store. This was the only pizzeria that I ate at, with maybe like 1 or 2 exceptions, for the first 14 years of my life. The pizza was amazing, and I can still remember what it tasted like. There was Walter, the super of our huge 6-story apartment building. He was always arguing with my next door neighbor. And Peggy, the crossing guard. They all knew us by name. I remember my parents would spend time chatting with these extended neighbors as we went about our errands every day. It's very different from my life now in the suburbs, where I pretty much only interact with my immediate neighbors and live a pretty much otherwise isolated existence with the people in my neighborhood. And I'm a pretty friendly person. I really miss that close-knit community for sure. Number 2 is cultural customs. Although most of the characters in the film are of the Latino ethnicity, with the exception of Benny, who is a Black non-Latino man, their backgrounds hail from different Latin American countries. Usnavi and Sunny are from the Dominican Republic, Nina and Kevin from Puerto Rico, Abuela Claudia from Cuba, and there are other characters from Mexico and Chile, to name a few. It's important to note here that although we are all from the Latino American diaspora, the countries of origin vary, as do the cuisines, the music, and many of the cultural customs. See the link in my description to learn more about these distinctions. I think that In the Heights did an excellent job of depicting the proud and enduring Latino American culture. From the passing down of the Spanish language and the cuisine, you can plainly see all of the productos Latinos in Usnavi's bodega or grocery store, to the ropa vieja, arroz con pollo, flan, and other Cuban delights that Abuela Claudia serves to her guests. These are all dishes that I make myself, by the way. To the Latin music and dancing at the club. My mommy would have said that Vanessa was dancing como un trompo, or spinning like a top. The majority of the characters in the movie are Americans who are proud of their Latino heritage. In the Carnaval del Barrio courtyard scene, everyone raises the flags of the countries from which they themselves or their ancestors hail with pride. And I just want to reminisce here for a minute about those Washington Heights courtyards. The building or the apartment that we lived in faced the back of the building. So I had views of those huge courtyards that just went on and on between the buildings. There was never anything exciting happening behind my building though. No parties for sure. In an earlier and more intimate scene, Abuela Claudia is showing her mother's hand-embroidered napkins to Nina, and she says, "We have to assert our dignity in small ways, little details that tell the world we are not invisible." Abuela Claudia reminds me of my mother, who was also a native of Cuba in so many ways. My mommy was an accomplished seamstress who designed and sewed many dresses. I wish I had all of the dresses that she made for me. My niece Miette just wore one of my mommy's creations for her senior prom and looked absolutely stunning. I remember my mother trying to show my sister and I how to embroider, but we were not having it. I regret that now. Fortunately, my sister and I were much more open to learning how to cook Cuban and Puerto Rican dishes, and we're passing that on to our daughters now. Every year around the holidays, we get together and make Puerto Rican pasteles, a process that takes an entire day. And the girls are always there to help us out. We are Americans that are proud of our Latino heritage and customs. The third theme that resonated with me is that of racism. When the character Nina goes away to college, to Stanford to be precise, she feels very out of place and misses that close-knit community that she's accustomed to in Washington Heights. For the first time in her life, she feels what it's like to be an underrepresented minority. This is something that she hasn't had to deal with before because the vast majority of people in her neighborhood are of the Latino ethnicity. Without giving anything away, she comes face to face with racism for the first time in her life, and although it makes her feel shitty, she has no idea how to react to it. This really resonated because I myself never experienced racism until I left Washington Heights. 2 weeks shy of my 14th birthday, my family moved to northern New Jersey. At the time, the town of North Bergen had a budding Latino population, but we were far from being the majority. This is not the case today, by the way. I remember hearing the term "spick" on the school bus for the very first time and being openly heckled by two troubled girls in my ceramics class because I was Latina. Like Nina, I had no idea how to react to something that I had heard my parents allude to, but I had never experienced firsthand. I cried myself to sleep every single night for the first 2 weeks after moving there. I remember the Latino students at my new high school gave us a very warm reception and we made friends quickly. And then I went on to make lots of friends of all races and ethnicities in high school and thoroughly enjoyed my experience. As a white passing Latina, I didn't learn how to really deal with racism until much, much later in life. And finally, the fourth theme that resonated with me, which is actually the main theme of the film, following your dreams or your sueñitos. In the opening scene, the children ask Usnavi what the word sueñito means. Sueñito, he says, it means little dream. But that's really a literal translation. In Spanish, the suffix ito can be added to a word to make it diminutive, but it can also be added to make it into a term of endearment. I believe a term of endearment is most appropriate here. Dear little dream. I thought about my parents' dreams when my father moved to Washington Heights from Puerto Rico and my mother emigrated from Cuba, both leaving their parents and several siblings behind to find a better life. And how I believe and I hope that they achieved all of them before they died. It made me think of my own simple childhood dreams and how I did go on to achieve all of them. I fell in love, I got married, we bought and sold a few houses, had a beautiful child, a fulfilling career, and how the dreams that I have now have changed and evolved. In the scene, $96,000, an amazing scene that's filmed in the public High Bridge pool in Washington Heights. I remember going there as a child with my mother and my sister and my Tia Maria. Everyone is buzzing with excitement at the prospect of winning the jackpot lottery. It's such a great scene, not just because of the cinematography, but because every character has a dream as unique as themselves. But what's interesting is that several of the characters' dreams evolve and change before the end of the film. It made me think about the fundamental purpose of why we all have dreams in the first place. Regardless of the specifics of what those dreams may look like for each individual. We all dream of being happy someday, and so our dreams take on the flavor of what we believe is going to bring us that happiness. It has long been my belief that the true measure of success is not how much money you accumulate in this life or how big your house is or what kind of car you drive. To me, the true measure of success has always been happiness, because if you are truly, genuinely happy in life, what more can you ask for? You can live in a huge mansion or own several mansions and own several exotic cars and wear the most expensive fashionable clothes and be famous even. But none of those things in and of themselves can guarantee you happiness. But you could also live in a 2-bedroom condo with your beautiful teenage daughter, an adorable cat, a prickly but cute as heck hedgehog, drive a sensible Toyota Camry, have a fulfilling career, and a budding YouTube channel, and be surprisingly happy. Sometimes our dreams evolve and our happiness ends up looking very different from what we had originally imagined. and that's okay. I am so very grateful to Lin-Manuel Miranda for all of the hard work and dedication that went into creating this beautiful and courageous film about my childhood barrio, Washington Heights. In addition to all of the themes that personally resonated with me, I thoroughly enjoyed the music, the lyrics, the dancing, and the breathtaking cinematography. And for those of you who are still watching this video, I have a little tip for you. When you watch the movie, make sure you watch past the credits because there's a very funny bonus theme that you don't want to miss. I typically end my videos with a refrán, but today I'm going to end with one of Abuela Claudia's dichos or sayings from In the Heights. Her go-to phrase was, "You gotta have paciencia y fe," or patience and faith. I wholeheartedly agree, chicas poderosas. Be patient, keep the faith, and never give up. Keep moving towards your sueñito, your dear little dream, and your happiness is just around the corner. Besos y abrazos a todas. Hugs and kisses to all.